Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Hashtag Ask Rocco. Hope you're all well. Super excited for our guest today. We are going to go straight in. We have Mark Tomlinson from Oxygen Real Estate Group, who are the pioneers in land planning. That is their slogan, and what a powerful one. Anyone that's a pioneer is doing something special. Over 500 million of development value created last year, and over the years heading into billions. Hopefully I haven't gone too over the top there, but I think it's right. And I'm just massively excited to hear from you. So welcome, Mark, and thanks for joining on this Friday afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So everyone who is live with us, you know how it works. If you're regulars, you type in the questions on the right hand side and we will give you the answers. And Mark is going to share with us his journey, his life, his career, his wisdom, his knowledge, his positivity, and any guidance. You ask the questions and we will go into detail from that. So we're going to go straight into it. Mark, tell us about yourself, where you're from, your background, your journey, what has brought you to be where you are today, and where are you heading in the future?
Wow, where did my journey start? I was born in London. I'm 52 years old now. I have 3 amazing kids. My property journey probably started when I was in my mid-20s. But I guess my first big passion in life, and it's still my passion, is actually tennis. In that I was a professional tennis player. And came through, the junior ranks of Middlesex tennis, and then national and international. Played for Middlesex over 100 times. Great Britain, played on the Pro Tour, qualifying, big ATP events, etc. But that journey, like a lot of journeys we go on, sometimes they don't last forever. That ended in the mid 90s. For a variety of reasons, I'd probably run out of steam, run out of money, definitely. Didn't have a team of people around me to maybe mentor and guide me. I think the world is a different place now. I think it's fantastic that we can call on so many people now to help us in whatever walk of life we're in. So I ventured into property and really started again. I went back to the very beginning, I guess, of a career. A friend of mine had a real estate business in Edmonton, in North London, and I kept pestering him, saying, "Look, I don't want to do tennis anymore. I want to come and learn property." And he kept saying, "No, you'll be useless. All you know is how to hit a tennis ball. Yes, you're very good at it, but I can't have you working in an office. You've got long hair. You've never worn a suit. You haven't got a clue what you're doing." So I just kept pestering him actually until he gave in. And then when he gave in, he said, "Well, I'm not paying you." I said, "That's fine. I'll just work commission only then." So I suppose it was a win-win for him, wasn't it? And off I went. And I suppose that was one of the big lessons that I would tell anybody. You never give up. If you want something and you're determined, don't take no from an answer from anybody. Just keep going and until you get what you want. And probably about 2 years into that journey, he was regretting me being on commission only, because I was earning a lot more money than all the other people who were on a comfortable salary and commission on top. My commission was more than those 2 elements put together. And at that point, he kept trying to change the commission structure. And I just reminded him, well, it was your deal. You said you weren't going to pay me. But I guess that motivated me. If I was going to stay in bed all day, I would earn no money. So I got up every single day, and really since then I've always worked for myself. I haven't been paid. I've had to generate my own income and money. And I guess over the last 20 odd.
I've got to interrupt there. Sorry, Mark. Just it's a really important point you're raising. It's something we go through every week. When you realized the point that you had to earn money and it wasn't coming through tennis, was that the first moment in your life that you'd been challenged in that way? So to give you an example, Where I came from, my family didn't have the money to support me. So from the age of 7, 8, 9, I would have been washing cars, newspaper round, cutting garden. So I had to learn at a very young age that if I wanted anything, I had to go out and earn it. Was that the same with you, or was this your moment where you started realizing that?
I think my first moment probably was when I was about 14, because I was breaking a lot of strings in my rackets. We didn't have a lot of money, and I said to my dad, well, let's buy a stringing machine. That will help us. And he said, well, I haven't got the money for that. And so he said, well, I said, well, I certainly haven't, have I? He said, well, you know what you can do? Go and get yourself a job. So a bit like you've just said, I went and got a paper round, and I was only 3 foot high, and you remember what it's like. You put all the papers on the handlebars of the bike, and every single time you deliver the papers, you fell off your bike. The dogs bit you when you put the papers through the
So
letterbox.
that's the one, Mark. That's the one. The one memory I have is when I learned where the dogs were. I wasn't putting a paper through those doors because those dogs were quicker than I was, and I wasn't willing to risk my hands with the dogs biting me. Any experience like that?
I think I got quite clever. I used to just put the papers through one at a time very thinly, so you could actually shoot them through the letterbox, rather than when you wedged them, that's when the dog got hold of you. But yeah, I started doing the paper round, and funny enough, the stringing machine was £150. I saved up £75, and I went back to my dad and said, look, I've got half the money, will you go halves with me? And he said, that's brilliant, Mark, what you've done, but I'm not lending the other money. I said, well, what am I supposed to do? And you know what he said to me? Go and get another job. So I actually went and got a second paper round, and eventually I saved the money and bought the stringing machine and started earning a little bit of money. And I think those really early lessons, where possibly generations that have followed might not have had the same lessons, those lessons that we had and that maybe our parents had, from the war and everything, put us in good stead. I still understand the value of money. I still understand what it's like to do a paper round in the pouring rain and get £12 a week. So
Mark, when I used to wash cars and I did it in the winter, the water was so cold and it was so the cars would freeze that I'd put the water on the car to wash it. That's how that it's that suffering. Exactly what you're saying. That stays with you for life. I mean, you're never forgetting that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and they're good lessons. They toughen you up. They get you ready for the world, so that when your next lesson comes along, I think you're prepared, and you've got some skills to actually deal with it. And I think every day, whatever you're doing, you're learning. You have to realise that till the day you leave this world, every day is a lesson. Maybe it's more than one lesson. Learn from them, and use them to your advantage, because every person that you meet, every experience you have every single day, you can try and take something from.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's go back. You're doing brilliant. You're on commission. You're overperforming, outperforming, having good fun by the sound of it. What happens next?
Moved on from that to actually starting to do my own small property refurbishments. So your typical small 2 or 3 bedroom house, get a team of builders in, renovate it, put it back on the market and sell it. Back in those days, believe it or not, houses in North London were 40, 50, 60,000 pounds. Borrowing money then was a lot easier than it was now. Believe it or not, you walked along the high street, saw your bank manager, told him what project you were doing. Within a couple of days, you had the money. It was a much more personal relationship with the bank, and when I look back to those times compared to how it is now with borrowing money, it was easy. And in hindsight, which is always an amazing tool, should have done as even more deals than we did. We thought we were doing well, but if we knew then what we know now, we should have absolutely smashed it even harder than we did. But we did okay, and that just kept going for many years. And again, another mistake that we made was that as property prices started rising quite dramatically, we tended to fear the fact that, well, maybe they're going to drop, when actually they were still extraordinarily cheap. So when that 50 grand house became 70 grand, we were worried about buying it, when actually 15 years later, that £70,000 house is now 400,000, 500,000. So it just shows you that you never quite know what you've got in the moment. And if you've got something good, you've got to absolutely maximize it, because you don't know maybe when things are going to turn. And with property, if you do take a cyclical view of it, if you take an 8 or a 10-year view, if you look at every property cycle, eventually it recovers and goes up. So it's very interesting at the moment. We're not in a financial crisis, we're just in a health crisis, and the property industry values still strong. House builders are still doing extremely well, construction firms are busy, people are out viewing, estate agents are recording great numbers. So it just shows you that when you've got this market, even if you've got another big factor going on, that the property world will always bounce back whatever's going on.
Love that. So talk us through the latter part of your career and journey. So you've just told us about how you were ploughing through developments, doing, I suppose, turning properties, doing them up, selling them on. And where did the change of path come for, I suppose, Oxygen, what it is today, and doing the kind of being the pioneers of planning that you are?
Well, 2008, when it did crash rather dramatically, was obviously a turning point. And I think the years that followed that, when obviously interest rates were incredibly high, and I guess the whole market took a correction. It became difficult to borrow money. It became difficult to do deals full stop, because all of a sudden, that project you were doing at 60 or 70,000 that was now 200, 250, you needed a lot more money to do exactly the same deal. And the market was changing. And I think, a huge factor in that as well was obviously the web coming along, the internet, and all of a sudden, a lot more people had access to the property world, whereas before you were either a property expert or you weren't. Whereas I think one of the things that we've seen, which I think is great for young people now, is you can sort of get into anything very, very quickly. You can literally, you could hold your phone up, go on social media, and you can go into gold, commodities, property, influencing, anything, can't you? You can watch anything on social media, YouTube, etc., and decide, you know what, I'm going to give that a go. You couldn't do that then. So as it started to change, it brought a huge number of people into the property industry who were amateurs. They started paying far too much money for property, which meant that the likes of myself and other colleagues, all of a sudden, we weren't in that market. I can remember going to an awful lot of auctions. I never even got my hand in the air. I was thinking, crikey, how can you pay that for that? And I can remember at the end of the auction going up to a couple of people and saying, look, I hope you don't mind me asking, you bought lot 28 for whatever you paid. How did you do that? And he said, oh, I've never seen it, but I thought it was cheap. Oh, really? So we sort of got kicked out of the market for all those different sort of reasons, and all of a sudden the opportunities really dried up. So we moved from, if you like, developing and owning to maybe just trying to be a bit earlier in the process and look to secure a site, and then take it through the planning journey, and then sell it on, so that we sort of had less risk and there was less money involved. But again, a lot of people now doing that. It's certainly been difficult in the last 12 months with Corona, because the councils are very slow. So again, I think the story to all of this is you have to keep morphing and changing and realizing you've got to be a bit of a chameleon. We're living in such a fast moving world now. If you don't change with the times, you just get left behind.
Brilliant. What a journey, what a story. I want to go back again. I want to go back to your tennis career. Why do I want to do that? Because I play tennis, obviously not professionally and internationally like you, and I understand the mental aspect of that game in terms of point by point by point. When things go your way, you play in a certain way, suddenly the shift in your psychology during a game can happen very quickly, and you can't hit a point or you can't win a point. And I'm fascinated to understand that is the Mark in 2021 with his mindset and approach to life. What did it gain from that relentless drive required and that steely mental toughness that's needed to be a professional tennis player on the court by yourself in a very lonely environment? And talk us through that, because it's fascinating to me.
I think, it certainly gave me self-discipline. It gave me structure. It's given me a process, given me good habits. I think one of the struggles that a lot of people have had over the last 9, 10 months is almost self-discipline. Very easy to not get up, to not exercise, drink or eat properly, not have a structure to the day, and before you know it, you're lost, and all of a sudden you're lost in your unconscious thoughts, and they're sort of running you, and you can get a bit down on yourself. So certainly the tennis and the hitting millions of balls time after time after time in order to get that discipline and know that you could do something, so that when you were on the court at 3-all, 30-all in the final set, you knew what you had put in and what you had in the tank, and it was there and it wasn't going to let you down. You can't cheat yourself in anything you do in life. You can pretend, you can tell other people that you have been running, you've been to the gym, you feel great, you do drink 3 liters of water a day, but ultimately in whatever you're doing, you know the truth. And I think sport is amazing. I would encourage every single human being on the planet to do sport for the mental discipline, for the release of the endorphins, that the feel-good factor, the social element of it, and that it gives you real mental strength in other areas, so that when you come across something, this is a tough day or this is a tough moment, you've got something that you can go to.
Brilliant, love that. Okay, we've got loads of questions coming through, Mark, so let's start hitting them. How would someone looking at the property world now, post-COVID and post-graduating, choose a career path?
I think one of the things that I would say, at this stage of my life, is you've got to do what you love doing. So post-COVID, whatever the property world is, wherever it is in its cycle, whatever career you're choosing to do, you've got to absolutely eat, sleep and breathe and fall in love with it. I think if you get into a job where you're literally going to work just to pay the bills for the end of, get to the end of the week and then you do it again, very quickly you're going to feel extremely uninspired. So I think if you can find something that you love and you obviously earn from doing it. That's the ideal job. You know, I was watching a bit of the golf earlier today from Dubai. You know, they love what they do and they're getting paid a fortune to do it. I mean, how cool is that? And I would just, you know, I've been at certain points in my life where I've got caught up in doing ventures that I haven't been in love with them, and therefore it's been a bit of a drag, and I haven't got out of them quick enough. So definitely fall in love with what you want to do. You know, no dream is too big. No dream is too big. Dream as big as you possibly can. Be the next Elon Musk of the world, as mental as you might think he is. What an extraordinary human being. Be the next Jeff Bezos. You know, whatever your dream is, even if you keep it to yourself, just, you know, shoot for the stars, for the moon, and go for it.
Brilliant, love that. 2 questions that you kind of just semi-answered, but I'm going to throw them back at you anyway. So the first question was, what inspires you to do the specialism that you're doing now? And the second question is, how do you inspire initiative and innovation from graduates or junior staff? Is there a success story that you could share back with them? So how do you manage all of that, especially with younger people?
My inspiration, ultimately, I think it has to come from yourself. One of my little sayings is, I'm just trying to be 1% better than I was yesterday. And just try and improve every single day. Some days it's not possible, but if you can just do your best each day, success does not come from, it's not instant. You don't suddenly wake up and all of a sudden you're a multi-millionaire, you've got 5,000 people working from you. It comes from building small little stepping stones every day by just doing your best day by day by day. Before you know it, you'll arrive at an amazing destination. In terms of, you know, I've got Jodie and Jaden, my 2 oldest, are at uni. It's tough. It's been a tough period because, you know, alongside the studying, obviously they should have had this most amazing social life, shouldn't they? And they haven't had it. So it's become a bit of a grind. But I think you have to realize that if you come out of university with a good degree, there will still be amazing opportunities out there. Businesses are always opening, looking for young, extraordinary people. So if you don't have a great day today, just think, do you know what? I am going to try and get the very best degree I can, because somebody like me or you is going to want that person. We're going to see that CV, see that degree and go, right, we'll give you that opportunity. So the 2 things wrapped again, you be the best you can be at everything you do every day.
Brilliant. Next question. This is quite a property specific one. So is your company doing any permitted development projects, such as converting retail or office to resi?
We don't ourselves, but it's a big part of the market. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of permitted development. I don't aesthetically like office buildings that then become residential. I find them, personally, I wouldn't live in one. You know, I find the whole corridors and the windows and how they look, it's not for me. But clearly it's got a huge role to play in the market. And, you know, with a lot of people now going to be working from home, or a hybrid of 4 days at home, 1 at work, there'll be a lot of office space empty and retail, and it's going to become bigger and bigger, the PD market. But what I would like to see is, I'd like to see it become a more attractive model. You know, I'd like to see more done to the outside of the buildings to make them look, you know, more residential and more attractive. But certainly with the high street obviously in trouble, a lot of those buildings will probably become residential as well. So I think it's certainly, if you're thinking of getting into it, it probably is a good market.
Great. And kind of like leads into our next question. With the changes in social migration and trends, over the last 12 months, people's needs are changing. How do you think the built environment from a planning perspective is going to adapt to that? Going to your points, high street, out of town shopping or business parks, etc. So where are we going to see that shift, and how is planning or the built environment going to deal with it?
Well, I think from what I understand, the two most important factors that people have learned from the last year is, one, how important the internet is and your internet connection, the power, and secondly, having outdoor space. I think a lot of people the last year who are in flats, no garden, no balcony, no nothing, have found it very, very difficult. So certainly now, I think coming out of London, if you're within an hour of London and you're going to have to travel in, that's now become acceptable. You've got your laptop on the train, you can work, can't you, on the way in or on the way out. But if that means you can live further out, buy a little house with a 30, 40 foot garden, and you can sit outside, there is a huge premium now on outside space. And I think you're going to see more and more people move out. And I think destinations within 50, 60, 70 miles of London are going to see a huge growth over the next 3 or 4 years.
Great. Okay, last two questions before you leave us with your words of wisdom and how you're looking to change your world or the world. So we've got a fan here. Mark, you have been inspiring people every day on LinkedIn since the first lockdown. What keeps you going? From a fan.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I did on the first day of lockdown is I went for a run. And believe it or not, we're 314 days in, and I've run every single morning and posted a few vlogs and a few thoughts, and that's now become a habit. Obviously, it's kept me fit. I've lost a lot of weight, and I think it just shows you, it doesn't have to be a run. It can be a walk. It could be something. How you can very quickly form a good habit, and that's become good for me. And I would say to everybody, try and find 3 or 4 things that you love doing and get them into your day every single day, because they will make you feel good.
Brilliant, love that, completely agree. Do you have any tips on approaching, engaging landowners to work with? Here we go, tips for people that want to do business like the way you do.
Go and knock on their doors, say hello, don't have any fear. If you think you can do something with a landowner or a vendor of everything, polish your shoes, brush your teeth, do your hair, put on a nice smile, knock on a door and go, hi, this is me. I've got an idea. Will you listen to me? Have no fear. Just go forward, believe in yourself, whatever it is you want to do. If you get rejection, don't worry about it. Don't take it personally. Take a deep breath, move on to the next person, keep believing.
It reminds me, Mark, back in '93 when I started, I did some agency at the very beginning. I was given these 2 huge folders of vendors and properties, and I was told for the first 3 months, make 1,000 phone calls and go through that. And
wow.
All I was doing was saying, do you want to sell your property? Do you want to rent your property? Do you want to sell? 1,000 people. I didn't know anything about anything. I'd never even picked up the phone. So it's the first job that I'd ever had. I was an intern, actually. And, that within itself teaches you and trains you to have the confidence to approach people in any facet of life. And it's, I'm pretty sure that my bosses then weren't that forward thinking and understanding that that's a great learning technique, but boy, how brilliant it is to have to do that and pick up the phone to 1,000 people, and most of them you didn't get hold of, not available, left message, not available, left message, got to call again and again and again and again and again, and you just don't lose those things.
Yeah, no, I mean, the very first day I did in the office, when I came off out of tennis with Steve. The phone rang all day and I never picked it up. And on the second morning, he told all the staff in the office, he'd obviously told them, I didn't know, he said, nobody picked the phone up. We're going to make Mark answer the phone this morning. And it rang and rang and rang. And all of a sudden I heard this voice behind me say, are you going to pick that phone up? Because it's not going to answer itself. And obviously I looked around and realized he was talking to me and I had to pick it up. And obviously I'd never done that before. I was scared. I was like, hello? You know, didn't even say the company name. I just went, hello, as if I was talking to my mum. But once you've done it, like you did with your 1,000 people, then all of a sudden you've got the confidence and you overcome it, and it's so much easier the next time, isn't it?
Absolutely, love that. Okay, Mark, always at the end on a Friday, I mean, you've been brilliant. We could talk for hours, we've got so much in common. Love your journey. What impact do you want to have now in the career, in the industry, in the world, and what do you want to leave our listeners with to either go home with in a positive way or stay at home in a positive way because they can't leave home?
I'm sort of returning to my first love at the moment, which is tennis. Going to play some senior tennis when we open up. I'm actually very humbled. I'm now the Middlesex men's county captain, so you're looking after the team later this year, as and when we can play. And I think that whole journey from the age of that's 4 decades teaches me that if you've got something in your blood, if it's in your DNA to do something and you love it and you're inspired by it and it makes you feel good, keep doing it. Never, ever, ever leave things like that behind. And if you find yourself on a daily basis not feeling so great, just write down all the things that you're doing and ask yourself, you know, do I like doing this? Do I not like doing it? And that sheet of paper will give you some interesting answers to your life. And if those answers are, you know, that you need to do something different, then start making a plan, start changing your mindset, start thinking about what you really want to do. You know, you might get an idea from a book, from Netflix, off the TV, walking down the road, out on a run. And if that suddenly causes a reaction inside you and you think, oh yeah, I love that, go with that gut feeling, because your gut feeling also will never let you down. It's the same when we meet someone, isn't it? If we like them, we don't like them, our energies connect and we go, I want this person in my life, or I want to take them on a date, or whatever it is. That's the same with your business and your entrepreneur mind. This thing here was given to us for a reason. Listen to it. It won't let you down, you know, and just do it with absolutely 100% commitment, no fear, and just go for it.
Amazing, Mark. You've been brilliant, a true inspiration. What a journey, what a career. Still loads of exciting things ahead of you. Fascinating having you. What great story for a Friday afternoon. So many great sound bites, so much motivation, so much inspiration, and so much education. Mark, you've been brilliant. Everyone, thank you so much for joining every Friday. Do love this session, very close to home for me. Thank you for following on all the platforms, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. Thank you so much for your support. I'm super grateful for, and for that reason, we will be back next Friday to motivate, inspire, and educate at #AskRobCo every Friday, 1 p.m. Stay safe, have a great weekend, and take care of yourself. Mark, you're brilliant. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Take care.
And you. Thank you. Bye.